Hi, well, I just want to make this little clip to describe a little bit about what happened, how it feels. I want to first say that it's very weird. And what's interesting to me is that it's so weird, it's so out there that when I tell people, like family or friends, they're just not interested at all, and that it seems like they're actually even holding their breath to wait until I change the topic and not talk about it, because they just can't put it in any context that they know about. So were you to believe me, then you would have to change your entire concept of what a human being really is, and most people aren't ready to actually process that information, so they'll just sort of try to box that information and sort of push it out of the way, rather than thinking, hey, if this guy has always made sense in the past, it doesn't lie, pretty scientific minded, presents us with this information about humans, about himself in particular, then how do we really understand humanity anymore? We have to. It's okay if it's on television, like for people on YouTube, you're like, oh, this guy's he's making a YouTube clip. It's kind of like TV, so there's lots of strange stuff on TV, and it's really not real life. But when it's a friend or somebody like that presenting it to you, you can't avoid the fact that there's something going on about the human body that hasn't really been talked about, or even discovered or looked at. And the fact is that nobody really wants to. It's something like I said once to my friend, or said, like, I read this, like, even if a Buddha come down and sat in front of you, there's not that many people who are actually ready to recognize that this Buddha exists or not, or a green alien or something like that. They will just freak out and leave, or a ghost. It was really kind of funny one day. I was thinking, well, I've had all this phenomena. I can, if Buddha or some like strange something entity comes down and shakes my hand or whatever, I'd be ready for it. That's not the case. It was really funny. I think it was after eating one time, and I was just sitting there, and it seemed like how your stomach kind of grumbles or growls, and mine just went like that, and it seemed like it was saying hello, and my name, and I just kind of ignored it. It's like, yeah, it's strange. And then it said it again. I'm like, well, okay, I just, whatever. And then it said it one more time, and I thought, well, okay, I'll answer. I said, hi, what do you want, And then it said something else, and I'm like, at that point, I went to like shock, I'm like, what? My stomach can't talk to me, or some entity was using the vibrational element of my stomach to communicate in a way. Well, no way. I wasn't ready for that. So I went into it like that. Even though I'm pretty sure it was just, stomach growling in a pattern that was strangely coincidental. So anyway, that's my spiel on that. And okay, to the phenomena, it's mostly unpleasant, okay? I've not really mentioned all that in previous videos. That's being a little bit skillful, I don't want to dissuade somebody from having a Kundalini awakening, because in general, people who have these Kundalini awakenings, yeah, it's kind of uncomfortable to a certain extent, but nothing, I think, major. But for me, it's just non-ending, and I can kind of give you a description of what is uncomfortable about it, okay? So if you can think of micro strands, like corn hair, something that fine, and it's just sort of flowing around. Just keep on flowing in a non. You're used to your body kind of being warm, right? Or you understand your body being warm inside. Well, this is quite cold, and it's sort of flowing a whole bunch of microfibers going this way and that way. And at this moment, there's little balls, these little, I suppose the size of a pea, like a green pea, green giant, mixed in with the microfibers, and these kind of roll around, and they can actually be larger as well. And when they're larger, and it seems that they try to push through things, it creates a lot of pressure, and it's cold as well, so there's a lot of things and pressure. And I'm kind of explaining in a way that is uncomplex, because the complexity of the little thing, of the interactions is amazing. There's, you think, oh, microfibers, some balls, but there's going this way, that way, the other way, there's just like tons of stuff, things happening. So that is not a very happy thing. Another thing is I've emailed some gurus, or even talked to some people who I think that they ought to know. They have a certain level of education on Kundalini awakenings, but I rarely get any answer that satisfies me, that I knew they understood exactly what I was asking. And I think and the people who did understand what I was talking about, as far as description goes, I think they kind of realized that it goes beyond their conceptual boxes of description. You see, because people, when they talk about Kundalini awakenings, they're talking about, most people, they have a very truncated, a very limited view of what a Kundalini awakening is, or could say the first stages of the enlightenment process, which I think the Taoist view is the Taoist description is much better. It's less frothy, it's more scientific sounding. So I don't have time to get into that right now, but I still want to criticize the sort of chakra and the fire and Shakti resides in your perineum or whatever, and people get this boof, like, warmth, and it goes up to their head, and they feel liberated or something. It's just, that's just not the way it happens at all. And there's really no point in. There is a certain amount of people who do get that. It's called a yin Kundalini awakening, which is not the one that you want. Just because that has too much pressure. And it could be quite harmful and destructive, rather than the slow kind, where all your channels are open slowly, gradually. But anyway, my thing falls out of the models, and so the gurus, I think, even they know that the limitations on how to describe on how to understand things, that. And which I think is a good warning about what these so-called gurus, are about anyway, because when you look at the biography of the guru, generally it's somebody who's had a spontaneous, and let's put spontaneous in parentheses. Spontaneous, there's nothing spontaneous in this. So it's just something, it's a word to describe. They didn't know how it happened, but it happened, So they were quite unaware of this process. So a person who had the spontaneous awakening, then they looked back, in retrospect, and tried to understand how it happened. They learned the system out of books, the same books, and therefore they might be making the same errors as everybody else does, but it's just gets repeated and repeated and repeated instead of mushroom effects. So anyway, that's what I have to say today. Bye.